The Epistles Dedicatory. To my dearly beloved friends and neighbors, the inhabitants of Lavenham.1 My DEAE friends, 0 Lom 0 N says, the desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar, Prince 3.22. If you be of his mind, I dare promise these notes, which I here devote to your service, a kind acceptance at your hands. You will find me to be the poor man, by the might I present you with, but the hearty desire of your eternal happiness, from which it comes, will, I hope, clear me from being the liar. I never could be so serviceable to you, as many ministers are to their people, having been with you in much weakness, and still it is the good pleasure of God, I should be staked down to a short tether of strength and other abilities. I have reason therefore that I may, though not recompense that want, yet express my deep sense thereof to crowd the more love into the little I can do for you. And truly my heart is enlarged to you, and to God for you. If anything makes me loath to be gone at another world, which my dropping house above many bids me prepare for, it is not the least, to think I shall leave no more of you walking in the way to eternal life, and you who are on the way thither, in no closer gospel order for your mutual help and comfort in your journey. Yet, while I am among you, little do you think how much of your poor minister's life lies at your mercy. If I should measure my life by the joy of it as indeed who doth not, then in some uprightness I can say with Paul, I live as I see any of you stand fast in the Lord, and die as I see others stand fast in their sins, not to be moved with all the entreaties of the gospel which have wooed you. And why, my dear friends, should not the life of your souls be much more precious in your own sight than mine? But I forbear, I would not willingly be thought, as some husbands are, to be kinder to you abroad before strangers, than I am at home. What I present you with in this treatise, is a dish from your own table. Bo, I hope, will go down the better. You cannot despise it, though the fare be mean, except you will blame yourselves who chose the cook. I cannot be earnest with others, to bestow so much time as to read over these plain sermons, lest it should be to their loss. It were but to call them from gathering sheaves in the more fruitful labors of others, to glean a few ears, and those but thin, also in mine, yet with you, my people, I may be a little bold. Physicians say, the mother's milk, though not so weighty as another's, if no noxious humor be tasted in it, because natural, is more proper for the child than a stranger's. And, I think, it would not be an error, if I should say it held in the milk which the minister gives to his flock. A people lying conscientiously at the breasts of their own minister, if the milk he gives be wholesome, may expect the blessing of God for their nourishment, though it has not so much lusciousness to please the curious taster as some others. Well, whatever these sermons were, some of those few spirits which you found in hearing, will be missing in the reading of them. It is as easy to paint fire with heat, as with pen and ink to commit that to paper which occurs in preaching. There is as much difference between a sermon in the pulpit, and printed in a book, as between milk in the warm breast, and in a sucking bottle, yet what it loseth in the lively taste, is recompensed by the convenience of it. The book may be at hand when the preacher cannot, and truly, that is the chief end of printing, that as the bottle and spoon is used when the mother is sick or out of the way, so the book, to quiet the Christian and stay his stomach in the absence of the ordinance. He that readeth sermons and good books at home to save his pains of going to hear, is a thief to his soul in a religious habit. He consults for his ease, but not for his profit. He eats cold meat when he may have hot. He hazards the losing the benefit of both by contemnating of one. If the spouse could have had her beloved at home, she needed not to have coursed the streets, and waited on the public. 0 What need WQT/offer sacrilege for sacrifice, rob God of one duty to pay him another? He hath laid our work in better order, one wheel would not interfere with another, if we did more regularly. A chief part of David's arithmetic of numbering our days, lies in that which we call division, as to cast the account of this our short life so as to divide the little whole sum thereof into the several portions of time due for performing of every duty in. An instrument is not in tune, except it have all the strings, and these will not make good music, if the musician hath not wisdom to cause every string to speak in its due time. The Christian is not in tune, except he takes in all the duties of his place and calling, neither will the performance of them be harmonious in God's ear, if every one be not done in its proper season. 0 My friends, labor not only to do the duty of your place, but that duty in its own place also. Hear when you should hear. Know your time for closet, and time for shop, add when your retiring hour comes, a few minutes now and then spent in taking a repetition of what you formerly heard, shall not, I hope, another day be reckoned with your lost time. The subject of the treatise is solemn, a war between the saint and Satan, and that so bloody a one, that the cruellest which ever was fought by men, will be found but sport and child's play to this. Alas, what is the killing of bodies, destroying of souls? It is a sad meditation indeed, to think how many thousands have been sent to the grave in a few late years among us by the sword of man, but far more astonishing, to consider how many of those may be sent to hell by the sword of God's wrath. It is a spiritual war you shall read of, and that not a history of what was fought many ages past and is now over, but of what now is doing, the tragedy is at present acting, and that not at the furthest end of the world, but what concerns thee and every one that reads it. The stage whereon this war is fought, is every man's own soul. Here is no neuter in this war. The whole world is engaged in the quarrel, either for God against Satan, or for Satan against God. It was a great question some years past, who are you for? The not giving a good account to which hath cost many a life. 0 My dear friends, think solemnly what answer you mean to give God and conscience, when they in a dying hour shall ask every one of you, who art thou for? It is an incomparable mercy that you are yet where you may choose your side. It will not be ever so, maybe not a day to an end. If once in another world, you must then stand to your colors, yet you may run from the devil's quarters, and be taken into Christ's pay. The drum beats in the gospel for volunteers. 0 The Lord make you willing in the day of his power. I know you all would be on the surest side. 0 What can you be sure of while under the devil's ensign but damnation? The curse of God cleaves to him and all that take part with him. 0 Let not the little plunder and spoil of sinful pleasure and pelf bewitch you still to follow his camp. What is that soldier better for his booty he gets in a fight, who, before he can get off with it, is himself slain upon the place? So, many have been served in these wars. If reports be true, it is that thou must certainly look for. The piece is charged, and aim taken at thy breast, which will be eternal death if thou persistest. God's threatenings will go off at last, and then where art thou? Where, but in hell, where thy wedge of gold and Babylonish garment, thy wages of unrighteousness, will do thee little stead. 0 Neighbors, I am loath to leave you in the way where God's bullets fly. But I must have a word for you, my Christian friends, who have espoused Christ's quarrel, and are in the field against Satan. My heart is towards you, who have thus willingly offered yourselves among the Lord's people to his help against the mighty. He can destroy him without you, but he takes your love as kindly as if he could not. God hath sent me, as Jesse did David, with this little present to you and the rest of my brethren that are in his camp. May it be but to the strengthening of your hearts and hands in fighting the Lord's battles, and I shall bless God that put it into my heart thus to visit you. 0 Hold on, dear friends, in your Christian warfare, let none take the crown from you. Bully at your courage at the throne of grace, from whence all your recruits of soul, strength come. Send faith oft up the hill of promise, to see and bring you the certain news of Christ's coming to you, yet, an assured victory with him. Read the exploits which Christ's worthies by faith have done, and in their conquests read your own, for in them he spake with us, as the prophet of Jacob. Be thankful for every victory you get, and let not the howling wilderness, yet before you, put the song of your praises for temptations, passed out of tune, yet rejoice with, trembling as those who are still in your enemy's country, and must keep by the sword what you get by the sword. Be sure you stand in close order amongst yourselves. These times give us too many sad examples of such, who first fell from communion with their brethren, and then into the devourer's hands. Stragglers are soon snapped. You will find you are safest in a body. Take heed of a private spirit. Let not only your particular safety, but of the whole army of saints, be in your eye and care, especially that company, congregation I mean, in which you march. That soldier who can see an enemy in fight with his brethren, and not help them, he makes it but the more easy for the enemy to slay himself at last. Say not therefore, am I my brother's keeper? God would not keep him that cared not to keep his brother. Watch over one another, not to play critics on your brother's failings, and triumph when he halts, but to help him up if he falls, or if possible, to keep him from falling by a timely rescue, as Abishai came to David's succor. Keep your rank and file. We see what advantage Satan hath got in these loose times, since we have learned to fight him out of order, and the private soldier or Christian hath taken the officer's work out of his hands. Harden yourselves against the scandals which the cowardice and treachery of false brethren hath given you. He is the right soldier that is not discouraged by those that run from, or that are slain in the battle, but still presseth on to victory, though he goes to it over the backs of others that are killed upon the place. In a word, disentangle your hearts that you can from the love of and distracting cares for this present world. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. 2 Ti. A4. If it behoves any to have their will ready made, and their worldly interests set at some stay, then surely the soldier, if any soldier, then the Christian. Get but once your hearts mortified to the world, and care rolled upon God, for name, estate, and relations here, and then you are fit to march wherever Christ will lead you. The want of this hath made many run home to save their own private stake there, when they should have been in the field for Christ. And now, my Christian friends, march on, not in the confidence of your armor, but in the power of his might, who hath promised shortly to subdue Satan under your feet. I have done, only I must crave pardon of you for rending this part of the treatise from the other, which neither my little strength or leisure would suffer me to grasp at once. But this having first put forth its hand in preaching, can make no great breach upon that, though it get the start a little in printing. Let me therefore, dear friends, if God shall make this imperfect birth any way serviceable to your faith, humbly desire that you would continue to strive at the throne of grace for a blessing on my poor ministry among you, and also lift up opera ear that strength may be given to bring forth what of this is yet undelivered. I do not send you thither where I intend not to meet you, but shall desire grace to be found faithful in striving with you, and for you, that amongst these who find any spiritual advantage from my weak labors, you to whom they are chiefly devoted may not receive the least. So perth your affectionate, though unworthy minister, Will. Gurnall, Lavenham, January 1, 1655. To the worshipful Thomas Darcy, Esq., and Mrs. Cecilia Darcy, his religious consort, at Kentwell Hall in Suffolk. 1 If my ministry be, or ever was, I mercy to the souls of my dear people in Lavenham, they with me have the more cause to bless God for Sir Simon's Dews, your much honoured father, who with such a noble freeness gave them their choice in settling me amongst them, and by whose favour, under God, I have many years enjoyed the royalty of fishing for souls in their stream, a privilege which my God, I hope, will enable me to value at a higher rate, how mercenary soever we are thought by many, than the temporal emoluments of the place. Some years are now past, since God was pleased, for our sins I fear, to take him from us, by whose death, and that of many other men of honour that have their heads now laid with his among the clods, the consumptive body of this our nation hath lost so much her best blood and spirits, as is seen in her pale face to this day. And now, this worthy gentleman being removed beyond the tender of my homage, my obligations to him become payable to you both. Your lady, by descent in her father's right, and yourself by alliance in hers, may justly claim the debt, were it worth the challenging. But to save you the trouble, these lines are sent to make public confession of the same. Indeed there are so many to witness it, that should I, by a dishonest ingratitude, have thought to conceal it, I should have but taken pains to put at the myself to shame before the world. I suppose it would not much please you that, my pen here should tell the world anything of your father's worth, with which they were so well acquainted before he left it. And besides, you know the unhappiness of great favours is such as brings their receivers under a suspicion of flattery, for that which in the mouth of a disobliged person would be counted true and modest. I shall therefore only say this, the more to provoke you both to a careful imitation of him. You have so fair a copy left you in the example of a worthy and religious father, a happiness not overcommon among the children of great ones, that to scribble after it would be much to your dishonor. Both your educations have been with the greatest advantage for piety. And blessed be God, we see that the religious principles, with which so early you were sown, did not fall upon dead earth. The name of religion is not vile or contemptible to you, as to many of your rank it is, who, looking upon its beautiful face with a carnal eye, through a cracked glass, the scandals I mean of broken professors, can find no comeliness for which they should desire it, yet have very unlovely and deformed images framed of it in their thoughts. The worship of God is not proscribed to your family, as in the houses of many great ones, who, it seems, think God himself too mean company for them, and count it a greater disgrace to have the Bible used in their parlor than cards and dice. They were not the most unwelcome guests to your house, that bring God along with them, and desire to leave something of God behind them. You begin well, noble friends, blessed be God for this religious spring putting forth in your youth. Allow me, I pray, the liberty to love you freely, and now my pen is serving you, to do it faithfully. You are in very good way. Like true travelers keep it, and let none hinder you in your journey to heaven. Take heed this morning sun, that looks out so hopefully, to the joy of all that know and love you, shut not up with foul weather in the evening of your days. If you were got many miles farther on your journey than you are, yet this counsel would not come too late, or be needless. Apostasy is not more incident to our natures, than breaches made on early profession are dangerous. When a fair morning afterwards turns to rain, there is less hope of its clearing up than if it had began foul. Zero labor therefore to be more in earnest for God in heaven, every day more than other. Beware of falling into a consumption in the solid parts of godliness, which may be, and yet a fresh set color appear on the face of profession. Borrow as much time as you can for communion with God, and communing with your own hearts in secret. If such as you can find no time, or spare but little for this work, who then may labor to get a greater mastery of your estate and love of the world, that you may be able to command it for God, ever counting a large heart a mercy greater than a large purse. Value yourselves by your inheritance in the other world, and not by your honor and riches in this. You may, as saints, call that your own, but this, alas, is only your master's cash in your hand, for the disbursement of which you must account, and that to a penny. Be abundant in the acts of charity, and let the papists know that good works will grow on Protestant ground, where there is no hope of merit allowed to water them. Be not much in that company, that will carrot neither give nor take any good. You will find, honored friends, that religion is a serious business, and will require your wisest thoughts and best care to manage it well. There is an unhappy proverb, which the formal courtship, rather than cardinal friendship, that religion finds among many great personages hath occasioned, viz., a little religion goes a great way among great ones, whereas in all reason, that which may pass for great religion among inferiors, should be thought little by those that are mounted higher on the hill of honor, because they owe more service to God, and the devil owes more spite to them. Their temptations are greater, not only in more danger to fall, but in falling also, because of the height they fall from. The good Lord help you to belie this proverb more and more, that you may convince the world greatness and goodness are not so irreconcilable, but may be persuaded to dwell in one house, yet lie in one bosom. This discourse, that I here humbly present to your hands a little fruit of my labors that grew in your father's soil if you water it with prayer in the reading of it, may, I hope, through God's blessing, give encouragement, and also reach some help to you in the work, which that it may do, shall be the prayer of your humble servant in the Lord, William Gurnall. Lavenham, October, 1657. To the Right Honourable and truly religious, the Lady Mart Verb, Baroness of Tilbury, and my much honoured Lady. 1 Madam, some have thought it better to define man from religion his chief end, than from reason his principal faculty, supposing that by it he may most exactly be distinguished from other animals, that are all utterly incapable of religion, but have some of them a sagacity that is something like man's discoursive faculty. Whatever there is in this nice notion, sure I am that man's chief prerogative and dignity which he hath to glory of is this, that he is the only creature in the whole visible world made to worship and enjoy his Maker. All the creatures are servants, Ps. Ox 6. 9 but man only is a priest to God, they obey their Creator, he only worships him. How then comes it to pass that true piety and religion should be thought a diminution to the honor of any one? Yet to our amazement we see the readiest way a man can take to be made a mock and laughing stock, is with David to dance zealously before the ark. The temple of virtue led the heathen to the other of honor, but piety and godliness brings the Christian to disgrace and scorn. No sooner does any dare to own religion in the power of it, but fanatic is writ on his back, and a fool's cap is set upon his head, which makes many turn Nicodemus in this scornful age, and carry their religion in a dark lantern, like those in Salvian time, any viles haberenter lest they should be counted base and vile for their pains. We have had, I confess, too many in our late degenerate days men born, as one saith, to do religion a mischief, who by professing high, and living low in sordid practices, have given religion such a wound in its reputation, as is not like to be cured while they are above ground, who have thus scandalized both it and the professors of it. It is the world's custom to dress up the faithful servants of Christ in the broken professors' clothes, and to draw their picture with the hypocrite's ill-favored face, that they all may be thought to be alike a company who would cheat the world in a religious habit, so that he who means now to be religious, must be content to be thought a counterfeit by others. But, madam, you are not, blessed be God, to begin now to cast up what it will cost to build for heaven. You have not amidst these scandals been, as the manner of some is, offended with religion for the faults of those that have pretended to it, neither have you in this scandalizing age laid a stone of offense before others, but admirably vindicated the honor of religion, which others have prostituted, by the amiable uniformity of your piety, beneficence, charity, humility, yet, all those graces which have the greatest advantage to bring religion against us. The floods of temptation which have carried away the work of many sandy builders in our days into the sea of error and irreligion, have not been able to shake the truth out of your judgment, nor the practice of piety out of your conversation, so strongly founded is your building on a judicious knowledge of the truth, and close pinned together by a sincere love of what you know. Madam, this, had I nothing else, were enough to make me ambitious of having a name so honorable to patronize my weak labors, yet should I not have presumed, had not the many favors received from your noble hand, obliged me to attempt some way of expressing my gratitude, and this, I hope, will not be thought the worse because it is so public. Your munificent nobleness hath been such, that I cannot call in too many witnesses to the acknowledgment of my obligations. As for this treatise which I humbly present to your honor's hands, in every page of it you will find enough to exercise your candour towards the unworthy author, but the subjects treated of are such as I am sure will relish well on your spiritual palate. I lead not your honor into the dusty road of controversies, which hath made Christians so unsociable, and keep aloof one from another, though travelling all to the same heaven, but into the green paths of practical divinity, where all sincere souls can agree to walk together. They all unite in the ultimate object of their hope, viz. Heaven and salvation, not the world in hand, but heaven in hope brings them in their joy. The Holy Scriptures are their libeling in Angulo, as once a devout soul for himself said. Never is the sincere Christian more solaced, than when he can get out of the world's noise, to spend a little time in a corner in reading or meditating on this book of books. And they have all one haunt, where they seldom fail to meet one another daily, though as to their bodily presence they be scattered over the face of the whole earth, and that is prayer. These, madam, are the three most general subjects discoursed on in this treatise. I confess I chose in them about too strong for my weak arm to draw, but the mark which I levelled at in handling, and now in publishing them, I hope is right. Should anything in these papers increase the rejoicing of your hope, make you more mighty in the Scriptures, and blow up the holy fire that already burns on the altar of your devout soul, or that of any other of the faithful, I shall then have my option, and bless God for it. I shall no further oppress your honor's patience. The good Lord yet lengthen out your days, strengthen your faith, and multiply your graces, that at last you may die like the phoenix, amidst their sweet odors, and close your eyes in peace, with full assurance to open them again at the morning of the resurrection, to see your Redeemer with joy unspeakable and endless. So prith, madam, your most humble servant, William Gurnall. August 28, 1661.